Live. We are live. So, little intro, little sip of sparkling water. Here we go. Well, welcome back to 2022, everyone, and the very first episode of Coaches to the Moon for the year. I'm sitting here with Trav Bell. He's the bucket list guy. He's the world's #1 expert on bucket listology, and he's one of the highest paid keynote speakers in Australia, which is really, really cool. Also a guy I'm just really excited to hang out with today. Trav, thanks for being here, mate.
Alex, stoked I could be on. Thanks for having me.
I always find it funny, just as a side note, the podcast setup where we say hello and meet each other and then pretend to do it again on camera.
Yeah, it's always weird. Look, there's no, who cares these days as long as we have a good chat and there's some value for people, I guess.
That's what we're here for, man. It's awesome. I'm really, really glad. You're a busy guy. You're on lots of podcasts. So I'm really blessed to have you here.
Let's not try and do it perfect. Whatever you do, just don't try and do it perfect. No one wants perfect anymore. The last 2 years is especially like we've all failed forward into technology. We're all stuffing it up. Who gives a shit?
100%. I did a podcast this morning when I was a guest, and most of my lingo was about failing because she asked me about how to start posting content online, and my main thing was progression over perfection. So I think we're in the same ballpark there, man.
But a progressionist, not a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's it. That's a really, really funny segue into what I first wanted to talk about, into kind of learning as you go, because you, like myself, you're a dad of twins. So shout out to James and Darcy, your twins, I believe.
God, he's done his research.
I care about you, man. I care about you. And I'm at the other end of the spectrum. I've got twin baby girls. They're 18 months old, Ollie and Ava. And so my schedule isn't really my own anymore right now.
No, it wouldn't be.
For some context, for the listeners, you're a guy, you help people to write and achieve their life goals, their bucket lists, really maximize.
Yep.
For the busy parents out there who, maybe acknowledge that they don't have the same dreams as their families or their kids, how do we go about incorporating our families into all the crazy stuff that we want to achieve in life?
Come on. All right, so everyone, here's the rules, because I made the rules because I'm the world's #1 freaking bucket. Anyway, mate, it's really simple. It is a really good question, though, and a really good place to start, given the fact that we can't go on all of our expensive trips and, that cost a lot of time and money and these sorts of things, especially with the pandemic. It's limited travel, which is what a lot of people think bucket lists is all about, right? But it's way more than that, as we'll no doubt get into. But here's the thing. I wrote this, piece of intellectual property years ago called the My Bucket List Blueprint. I did it in the book. There it is. That was actually on my bucket list to get that done. And it goes through this My Bucket List blueprint. That's an acronym, My Bucket List. It's a 12-letter acronym for how to create a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. The T at the end is the travel.
Yes.
It represents travel adventures. But all the other stuff you can do, there's a lot of stuff you can do straight away. All it really is about being deliberate with intention and intentionally designing your life and what I call a bucket list life plan, right? And you should have one. Your partner should have her or his own. You're together as a team, you and your partner should have one together, all right? And then your family should have one as well. So we're talking one for you, one for both of you, one for you and your family. So you've got to contend with 3 bucket lists, and there's obviously going to be some overlap. And that makes for a great conversation and great planning. And there's going to be no doubt, dude, there'll be some crazy shit that you want to do on yours that involve that you don't want the kids to be around.
Yeah.
That you don't want your partner to be around. And that's powerful. That's your thing, right? Like my family don't want to do half the stuff on my list. And I've just signed myself up literally this week. I don't know if you saw, I just did I did it last week, yesterday. I literally signed up for something that I've been thinking about doing for 9 years. It's been on my bucket list for 9 years.
Great.
Stand-up comedy gig.
Oh, man, that sounds terrifying.
Fucking train wreck. Sorry, car crash, train wreck, both of them all together. Does it count? Does it count if people laugh at you still, not with you? I don't know. But
you did it already? You did it last week?
No, I'm doing it in February. I'm fucking shitting myself.
Man,
I'm the public speaker. Yeah, I've done the TED talk. I've spoken all around the world. I do shit like this all the time, but I am fucking shitting myself straight up. Okay. I really am. And I'm not just saying that. I am, because I want to be good at it too. Like everything, I want to be good at it. Anyway.
Well, you're a funny guy, man. I saw your, you probably gained a lot of. You're a very self-deprecating guy as well. It comes across in your TEDx talk, which is where we found you. TEDx talk is fantastic. That's where we found you. It's about achieving your bucket list. And I'll be honest, man, when I first saw your talk, I kind of got a few minutes in, and I got to the bit where you lay out someone's life in 80 squares to represent years of their life.
Yeah.
And that I turned it off, and I was like, why'd I turn it off? I'm like, that triggered me. It scared the shit out of me. And so I turned it on because I realized that, those 80 squares.
Life grid.
Yeah. What a concept, and really, really visual. And it's so small. Right. And it kind of scared me, and I turned it off, and then I turned it back on because I was like, okay, this is important that I address why I turned that off. But I imagine that when you go around talking to people about achieving their goals and saying that so many people die at 40 and get buried at 80 and live by default and not by design. Do you ever find that you really trigger people, and do you find that there's a way of approaching that in a sensitive direction?
No, and I don't try and be sensitive.
Okay.
Because you got to think, like, as a speaker, traditionally as a speaker, you got to, typically at a big conference, that TED talk, I had 18 minutes. I was in front of 2,000 people there, right? And sure, the content lives on forever, but normally when you go and do a keynote speaking gig at a conference or whatever for a company, or at one of these big public events, you've literally got an hour, maybe an hour, right? And as a result, you've got to, if you're vanilla, if you're a sheep and you're talking their language and you're not in a way disrupting their current train of thought, their current pattern, their current default, you're not adding fucking value.
Sure.
So I do that literally in the first, as you saw, sort of 10 minutes of every talk that I do, and it's designed to ruffle the feathers because now I've got your attention.
Yeah.
Now I've basically given you a virtual cancer diagnosis. Now I've woken you up.
Yeah.
Now when I started, and I've been a professional speaker for over 10 years now, spoken all around the world, great. And I've done that literally all around the world, from places like South Africa, India, Cambodia, even in other languages, like in Mexico, like with the translators at the back of the room, in Vietnam with the translators in the headphones, and no matter where, no matter where I am, it always makes impact. It's designed to ruffle the feathers because niceties, we can hear those all day. And that makes us feel good, but something has to get our attention for us to change. Those that are on the path of fulfillment and, living their bucket list, it's like, yeah, I get that. It doesn't ruffle the feathers. But some people, it fucking triggers hardcore, right? Yeah. Not to the point of, we need to call people in, we need to call Lifeline in, but it's done more good than it definitely has bad. In fact, it hasn't done it hasn't triggered anyone in a bad way. It's only brought people to tears because, it's not about the actual squares. It's about the questions that I give after the squares or during the end of the squares. So for those, watching and playing at home, listening possibly at home too, 80 squares basically represents 80 years on Earth. The average age of death in Australia is 79 for guys and 83 for girls. We're going to call that 80. So I put this grid of 80 squares up, and people draw their own sometimes, or that we have a workbook or whatever. And then I ask them, okay, cross out the ones that you've been alive, with each square representing 1 year on Earth. So if you're 40, something like me, half and a few more, nearly 10 more, are gone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking down the barrel at 30 squares, and then I let people take that in. And if you're over 40, mate, which I don't, that mustache might get you over 40, but you're probably under 40 at this stage.
Yeah, I'm 30. Yeah.
There you go. You're right. The mustache puts 10 years on it, but either way, anyone over 40, it really does hit home a lot more than when you're under 40. But it also depends on your ecosystem, your circle of influence, and especially with the next questions. I say, okay, cross out the ones you've been alive. What's your response out of that? People go, oh, fuck, thanks for. And I make a joke of it because it really does hit home. I say, oh, thanks for thanks for the motivation speech, Trav. And people are like, yeah. But then I ask, and this is really hard hitting. I say, all right, how many people in this audience, like in that TED group, how many people in the audience know people who've been diagnosed or died from cancer? 2,000 people in front of me in that TED talk, hands, a sea of hands. Have a look around the room. Well, all right. Next question. How many people do you know have been diagnosed or died from cancer? Show of fingers. And people like twos. For older the audience, the more I'm getting these ones. I was like, all right, hold them up. How many people? Look around the room. Oh, shit. And then the biggest crescendo question is how many of them, by show of fingers, actually made their 80 squares? And you can normally hear a pin drop. And that's the oh fuck moment. Yeah. I'm not doing it for show. I'm not doing it for dramatic effect. I literally want to fucking change people. And I know that coaches and speakers they're so hell-bent on wanting to be liked by everyone. I don't give a shit if people hate me for that, but at least I've given them a tool to hopefully send them off on a positive direction after we've parted ways in an hour's time.
Well, yeah, man. And you do it really, really well because coming from my own experience of it, every step of the way, I was listening to it on my walk this morning and, putting my hand up for each one and, the fingers and everything. I've got sick people in my life now. I'm 30 and I've got friends starting to hit this circle, right? And you never think it's going to happen. And so, but I was so glad that I turned the speech back on, kept listening, because it does spin it. And it actually makes you realize, that there's a lot more out there, and it's not the doom and gloom and everything that we hear all day. Right. And so it was, you're absolutely doing a great job with that. And I'm sure you know that. And,
it's really the 80 cool. Squares that I get comment of, it's why I'm having this conversation with you still, man. I started that 10 years ago. As Alex, as serial entrepreneurs as we are, to not jump off onto the next bright, shiny object is like a mission in itself. So I've been on this lane doing this bucket list thing for literally 10 years with the blinkers on. Yeah. And I'm more in love with my topic now than I was when I started. It's because of this feedback that I've been given over the years that keeps the fire burning. People have seen me 10 years ago speak, I still got those fucking 80 squares. It's like, cool.
Dude, it really lit a fire in me. And also, in a completely business sense, I want to get onto business in just a second, but in a completely business sense, blinkers, focus, inch wide, mile deep, rather than mile wide, inch deep. Another Trav Bell quote that, yeah, man, that's been massive for me, because we always do think the grass is greener, and if this isn't working today, I'll go and grab that instead or whatever. But this is the only company I've had success in out of the 11 things I've tried in the last 20 years. And it's because I sat down and just did it. I kept doing the same thing until it worked, so that's really cool, man. You said you had stand-up comedy on your bucket list for 9 years, right? And I want to know, what's the longest amount of time something's been on your list? Is there anything sitting there from day dot?
Prior to Joe, at my first seminar that I ever did, public seminar, so prior to that, that's where I gave her first seminar after my own breakdown before breakthrough moment. Yep. Someone said, hey, I found myself, instead of going on heavy antidepressants, I found myself going to every seminar that I could do. Like I walked on fire, went fucking Burning Man, did ayahuasca, did it. Just found myself and worked through a lot of my own stuff. But I went through depression. I talk about that very, very openly, albeit mild compared to other people that I've heard from since. But instead of putting a band-aid, health will teach us this one. 20 years as a personal trainer, I trained a lot of very similar clients, and I know that what going on heavy antidepressants looked like. Didn't want to do that, chose the other path, tried to work my own shit out. So I went to every seminar and event that you could, got coached, didn't go like heavy therapy or anything like that. I just really want to understand my own psychology. So did that, studied what I had to study, broke through whatever I broke through. And then like about a year or two into that journey, Nick, who was sitting next to me at one of these seminars, said, why don't you teach this shit, Trav? Literally said, and then the next few weeks I put together packaged everything I'd learned about business, mindset, blah, 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 put on a seminar. And at the end, about halfway through that, I started sharing the fact that I had a list to do before I die, literally written down since I was 18.
Yep.
And no one knew this about me. And this is 10 years ago. I'm 48 now. Like, am I? 49? 48 now.
2022.
Jesus, I'm 40. Yeah, 48 now. Oh, I'm screwed.
Squares, mate.
20 years ago. After 40, you start losing count. So this is 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was in personal training. And so, like, literally since I was 18, I had a list to do before I die, actually written down. I started sharing that with a group, and I said, oh, who else has got one of these lists to do before you die actually written down? I was like, donuts. No one. I said, fuck, I'm nearly freaking the room here. So I started sharing some of this stuff. I've still got the list on a shitty piece of A4 paper. And I said, oh, this is why I get up in the morning. This is why I build businesses, make decisions quick, get off the fence quick. And so I started sharing some of this stuff. It inspired the group. And then Joe at the end of it said, oh, how's the list to do before you die stuff? I said, the bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. I went, light bulb moment. Went home and registered a domain name. Defranchised my whole personal training business. We had a chain of them around Australia. Sold off a few and then went online. And that's how the sort of journey started. And what was your question at the end?
Well, it's kind of morphed as you've been talking. It originally was like, what's been on the list the longest? And
two things were on that original list.
Yeah.
Go to Mount Everest Base Camp and do an Ironman triathlon.
You've done them now?
Yeah, I went to Mount Everest Base Camp through Tibet with my dad.
Yep.
On a full-on expedition. Went to it, just didn't go to base camp, went to advanced base camp. I was fucked with altitude sickness and he was fine at 70 years old, the bastard. But and did an Ironman and literally signed up. It was my first ever. I grew up as a swimmer and a surfer and stuff like that, so I could swim. But I entered Melbourne Ironman, not having done a triathlon at all, and just buckled myself on the day. Trained all year and then buckled myself on the day. Nearly qualified for Hawaii.
Ultimate challenge, right? It's the ultimate
massive
challenge.
But it was actually, funnily enough, it was that journey.
Yeah.
And I documented, when I look back on my videos, they were shocking, but I did about 50, 60 videos of my training for that. And that actually helped me put Bucket List Guy on the map at the time too. So they were the things the longest.
Okay.
I reckon stand-up comedy has been on there a long time. I've avoided it for a long time.
Well, I'm glad you signed it off now, and I can't wait for you to
I haven't done it yet.
I know. But when you get there,
I might do a hammy. I don't know.
Don't do it. It's one thing I found really challenging about trying to write my bucket list this morning, right, was that, like you, I've gone through, rises and falls in physical health and mental health and financial, all sorts. And I find that my goals tend to really fluctuate and change a lot, depending on who I'm listening to, what situation I'm currently in. So I'm moving in the same general direction. But if I'm listening to Grant Cardone, I want to buy apartments and make heaps of money. If I'm watching Jamie Oliver, I want to go and plant my vegetables and cook healthy food. And now, talking to you today, I want to go and write a bucket list and focus on this part of my life. And so that's probably something to do with, my sort of ADHD kind of mentality. But, have you ever woken up in the morning and realized that some goals in your list just don't make you tick anymore? They're just not relevant to where you're at?
100%. They evolve. Okay. But that's where you shouldn't have a list of 100 things to do. Because, like some of the stupid stuff I wanted to do that has fallen by the wayside, when family come into the picture, it's just not me anymore. It just didn't float my boat. There's got to be a big why attached to it too. So if your inspiration level for your bucket list items, like any goals, is at 8, 9, or 10, sweet, you'll move heaven and hell to make it happen. But if it's a 1 and 2, it's like, oh yeah, that'd be nice to do. It's probably not going to ever find its way on the priority ladder unless you bump into it, right?
Sure.
So, and as it evolves, like we've got 3 lists basically. You've got a future bucket list, which you should always add, get new ideas, morph and change, and do it. Keep adding shit until you die.
Yeah.
Right. When you cross it off, when you tick it off, it goes onto your reverse bucket list. That's everything you've done. So you've got a to-do list and you've got a reverse bucket list, which is your done list.
Yeah.
That's the shit they play at your funeral.
Yes.
They get all the clips.
The highlights reel at the top.
The highlights reel, they put it to your favourite song and say, see you later.
Yeah.
So my family, funnily enough, they've got access to that of mine. It's got videos, it's got photos, they know what the best song is.
What is it?
30 Seconds to Mars.
Not Bury Me. That'd be a bit.
No, not Bury Me. Closer to the edge.
Okay, cool, man.
I've got to probably that sort of amps me up. It'll get everyone fired up. We don't want that. I might rework that. Anyway, food for thought. And then we've got another list, and that's called the fuck it list.
Love it.
Right? And that's all the shit you just do not want to do. I've been to Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Right? I went to Advanced Base Camp. I was fucked.
Yeah.
From where I was standing, it was exactly 2 kilometers north, and I could see the top, of high camp. And I was like, if I took one step further, I was screwed, let alone doing that. And so base jump like that, there's a lot of stuff on there. I swear that when I go out on stage normally, I find this, I show this little film clip and everything, and I've done this in some really suited up audiences, business breakfasts and that sort of thing. And I remember doing this one at the Hyatt in Melbourne, and it was a Treasury and Finance Association or something like that. Everyone had suits on except for me. I go in there, I've got the tats and earrings and bits and pieces, jeans and T-shirt, sneakers, and everyone's sitting there, at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're all going, I'm playing the clip, and they're all going, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get through my day, mate, So it's each to their own. All the adrenaline stuff that you and I might love to do, it doesn't float everyone's boat. And it's not about imposing my or your model of the world onto everyone else. You know that as a coach. You know, whatever stretches your comfort zone, whatever allows you the space to grow and see your, more of yourself, more of your own potential. That's what a bucket list is essentially is. And I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan, right? It's a tangible life plan. It's the end result. It's where you can get to the end and go, yep, I've ticked that off. So I say your career plan or your business plan should fit into your life plan and not be the other way around. So it really brings home this work to live principle. So stacks of money, creating all this wealth, it's fucking pointless unless it has a place to go. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with it? So people who create, especially this time of year, create dream boards and vision boards, and we've got a process called a bucket list board. I don't want fucking affirmations on there. I don't want stacks of money or quotes. Save that for the tattoos, and save the stacks of cash. It means nothing. Yeah. You're going to get taxed on it anyway if it's all sitting around in big chunks. So put it to good use. Have experiences, and so that's how I guess incorporate that concept, especially when I'm talking to corporates and business owners and that sort of thing. Go optimize your business plan, and you'll optimize your business plan or your career plan, your job, whatever. When optimized, it should, if you do it right, it should spit out the cash flow and the time flow to allow you to go and do your bucket list, right? And so when you've got this, when you start with the end in mind and you work with this bucket list life plan, and you're fired up about it, you will build your business a hell of a lot faster, more efficiently. It'll help you make decisions. You'll fail forward faster because you've got a reason to.
My reasons changed enormously when the girls came along, when the twins came along, because money means very little when there's no time to spend it, when there's no one to do it with. And that's just my opinion. I've got friends who are money obsessed, and I love that they're money obsessed. Good for them. But yeah, 100%, man. Since for those listening, photo of my little girl on my desk.
Beautiful.
There. It's
what are their names?
Olivia and Ava. Ollie and Ava. They're awesome, man. They're at the grandparents today, which makes my life easier. But 100%. It's
and here's the thing: like, people might be thinking about, parents might be looking at this going, oh, it's pretty self-centered, selfish to maybe do your bucket list, especially mums. All right, well, I've got a lesson for you.
Sure.
As a parent of older kids now, I challenge each parent listening to this, and yourself too, mate, is to not think of this as a selfish pursuit, more so to show your kids what an example of a bucket lister is. Someone that's on purpose, someone that's, have got meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in their life, is a pleasure to be around, it has that sense of adventure.
Yeah.
Is not one of these, is glass half full, not half empty, is one of these people that people like catching up with because they feel energized afterwards, versus the opposite. So really, through this whole pandemic, this is the message that I've been getting across to people, is be the example for others to follow.
Yeah.
Live your bucket list so you become the example, because I like doing business with someone like that.
Yeah.
I like being the son or a daughter of someone like that. I like being a mate of someone like that. These people are a pleasure to be around, versus the opposite, where you catch up with some people, you feel like you need a fucking wash or a holiday afterwards, right?
Yeah.
There's a fucking lot of them around right now.
Yeah. You know what I love about you, though, Trav, just to blow some more smoke up you, is that you're doing all this cool stuff and you give off that energy, but it never comes across as you bragging, because there's people on the internet all the time showing all the cool stuff they do, comes across with an air of look what I've done. And, you know, I'm on my private jet on Instagram, that kind of thing. And it comes across like that.
They don't own them.
No, they don't.
Grant does.
Yeah, but they don't. With yourself, man, it does come across as you're proud of your mate Trav, for achieving this thing. And I don't know if that's what you're going for, but that's exactly how it came across. And it's really, really
the beauty of being I'm when I'm not speaking, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And that's my superpower.
Yeah.
You know, and as wanky as that sounds, I've always been a coach. Like I ran. We had the biggest personal training company in Australia. We had over 300 personal trainers working for me there at one stage. We had a chain of personal training studios. I got into PT because I loved helping people. That's one of my highest values. And, you know, you and I, we've seen so many people come in and go, oh, you know, I can't do one push-up. We already know that they can do 10. They just haven't been spotted the right way, shown the right technique. And then you open up their whole world. On the other side of a bucket list is a you that you do not know yet. That's called your potential. When you get to experience your growth and potential on that side, it puts a smile on your face. And, you know, happiness is the meaning of life, according to the Dalai Lama.
That feeling of, I didn't know I could do that. That's great.
Yeah, man. Like, and that changes family trees, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. I want to change that family tree. I'm actually blessed. My grandma, my dad's mum, won Wimbledon back in like 1934, something crazy like that. So that was cool. And she was a real bucket lister. I only knew her as an 80-year-old, but she sailed across the Pacific and all this cool stuff. And hopefully there's a bit of that still in me. And I'm very
social media.
Yeah. I'm very lucky like that, man. I've got a cool life behind me. And I just want to throw a bit of a value out there just before you go, for the people listening who are, you know, they are doing it a bit tougher. They may be going week to week with their bills. They may be going, you know, from one job to another, to their household chores, to their kids. And I talk to a lot of sales guys on here, and the main two objections we get: don't have time and I can't afford it. Right. And I'm sure that's the same objections people give as to why they kind of go and achieve their dreams. So for anyone listening today, what step can they take today to actually start doing something they never thought they could do?
Oh, good question. Good frame. Whether you got time or money is irrelevant. I'll say that again. Whether you got time or money, writing your bucket list is irrelevant. See, what's that?
5-color pen.
It's a 4-color pen. So you got to.
Glass is half full, man.
It's a colored pen. And what's this stuff here?
Paper.
Yeah, I'm going to go old school. So what I want people to do is actually take some time and write. Yes, I said write, not type into your phone, but actually write pen to paper your bucket list. Maybe for the first time. See, a lot of people think, oh yeah, I've got a bucket list. Well, show me. Oh no, it's in my head. It's not real then. I don't give a shit, because you're so busy on your to-do list that you forget about your bucket list until something dramatic or traumatic happens to you or a loved one, until you get the fucking diagnosis or your mum does, right? Suddenly you reprioritise in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Let this be a lesson before that happens. Write your bucket list, go nuts. Hey, use the book, use the TED Talk. I've got the buildyourbucketlist.com.au 7-day fucking free challenge that people can get involved in. None of this really costs money, right? That costs you maybe $20. But just get it out of your head and onto paper, right? Are you going to do everything at once? No. What you're going to do, you're going to go after, you're going to look at everything, all the stupid shit you want to do as well. All the stuff that doesn't take you, that cost you time and money, right? Stand-up comedy. Does that cost me time and money? Yeah, a bit of time. Not a lot of money. Maybe in therapy later, but not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just intention. Go do and start immediately. When you've written your list, go do the lowest hanging fruit.
Yep.
Go do the easiest ones. Fuck Machu Picchu. Fuck base camp. Fuck Egypt. You can get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But here's the thing. If you go and do the low hanging fruit first and intentionally go, all right, this weekend I'm going to start on my bucket list, or tomorrow I'm going to start on my bucket list, and go do the simplest of things, that will give you the momentum and motivation to smash through the bigger ones. I call it a bucket list snowball effect.
Yep.
And it builds up, builds up, builds up. And believe me when I say it, the momentum gets crazy. And you've got to publicly declare it somewhere.
Okay.
Right? You've got to publicly declare it. Otherwise, you're holding it in. Because here's the thing. If you don't, look, I've got a Facebook group called Your Bucket List Life. Go in there, join it. Publicly declare your bucket list in there. Because if you don't publicly declare it, you can't then get the resources to help you maybe shorten or collapse those timeframes between where you are and where you want to be. If you don't tell anyone about your goals, how the fuck are they meant to show up? How are the results? Oh, so you want to meet so-and-so. Oh, well, funnily, thanks for letting me know, because I know someone that knows someone. I want to swim with dolphins, said the little girl over in Perth who was dying of leukemia. She blogged, Alice blogged this, made it public on Facebook. I screen grabbed it. I put it out to my audience. She had 20 things on her bucket list. Put it out to my audience. 18 of them could get done by my people, by the help of my people, from one fucking post. My mate, who I didn't even know, knew. He goes, "Oh, Trav," this is my mate Steve up on the Goldie. He goes, "My best mate's like the head dolphin trainer at SeaWorld. We've got that covered."
Yeah.
She was a young girl, 15, 16 or something. She wanted an iPad so she could still blog. She had a great blog. She could still blog from hospital, dude. Made it Apple said, she wants a new iPad. She's got a new iPad. Done. Etc. 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 That's the shit that gets me.
I bet it is, man. I bet it is. And it sounds like you're putting together an amazing community of people there to help do this. Positive people and being around them is probably one of the first steps you can ever take, right?
So what you're going to do, Alex, as a result of this, you're going to send me your bucket list. Are you going to say that? You're going to say that live and publicly, yeah?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I typed mine up on my phone this morning and half the letters are missing. I'm going to write
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to write it on this one. I'm going to post it this afternoon on my socials.
Yeah.
If I can finish it by then, as a promotion of this podcast, and then I'll send them to you. I'll put
tag me up, and I'll tag me up, and I'll pimp it out too, mate.
You bet, man.
You have to send it to me personally.
Done. Wait for it. It's on the way. It's on the way, brother. And for everyone listening, you heard it from the man himself. You just need to write it down. Time and money is irrelevant. We didn't get onto business. Really I don't even want to, bro. I don't even want to get onto business. It doesn't need it today. We're talking about living life to the fullest and business facilitating life, not the other way around. So, Trav Bell, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're a wonder of a man, and thank you for doing what you're doing, man.
Alex, this is my first podcast interview for 2022. Couldn't have done it with anyone better, pal.
Stop it. Well, hopefully it's not the last. I'm sure it won't be. I'm sure you'll be.
Let's do it round two. Let's talk about business. I love talking about business too.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, well, I'll lock that in for sure, because there's definitely, you've used the internet to leverage an amazing life, and I'm trying to do the same thing. So thank you so much, Trav. We'll talk round two. Everyone listening, I'm going to put Trav's details and everything we post. He's going to have some content. I'm going to have some content. And if you're on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or LinkedIn right now, thank you so much for watching and listening. Trav, one more time, thank you so much.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks heaps. See you guys.
See you guys, and I'll see you next week on Coaches to the Moon. Much love. And